Hey guys, another zero-in video here. Today we're going to be looking at the Current Orbit Marine IC Pro dual with loop controller. Right off the bat, I switched from a 180 watt shine light, single light, to this light. The 180 watt shine you'll see in my other video. I'll talk a lot about it. It's really bright, and the bleed off was really the worst part. And you couldn't do anything with it. You couldn't film it, you couldn't look at it. It was just tough. But I tell you what, that light in certain situations can be a great light. This one wasn't for. It was too bright and too intense, and it was hurting my corals. So switching to this one here, I think was the right choice. First thing I will tell you is you must get two of them. I really don't care what size tank you're using. They really need to be a 2-set format if it's going to be for saltwater. So with that being said, it's a pretty straightforward system. Comes with two lights, a Bluetooth controller, which I have right over here, which we'll talk about here in a few moments. But that's their loop controller there that controls the system via Bluetooth. It is not Wi-Fi. You must control it via Bluetooth. There is an app you can download. Anybody that downloads that app can also control it, unless you lock the controller, which you can do with a simple button press. First thing I like about the light is obviously low profile. The other one put off a lot of heat. This one here in its tamed down mode, where when it's going to sleep and stuff like that, literally has no heat on it at all. And right now, the middle of the day, after running at full blast, 10K setting, they have minimal heat. It does put off some still, and I don't recommend touching it, after it's been running all day. But for sure, definitely not as much as that watt shine was kicking off with those 3 watts. But that's to be expected. These are less wattage and have built-in heat sinks on them. So that's the main reason I went to them, was the less wattage. My old tank, the bleed off was just so unbearable to look at the tank because with a lot of those higher powered lights, you have to suspend them. They don't come with legs. And let me tell you, anytime you have to spin something 8 to 10 inches, if you don't have a nice canopy to house all your lights, that suspension then bleeds off into the room, and that is what you have to look at. And I'll tell you what, on some of these light setups with the LEDs, can be pretty intense stuff. So this light was better, I felt, for my setup, and to be honest, really do like it. As far as the bulbs are concerned, really good colors. You got really bright intense whites dedicated, really bright blues dedicated, and this, what I like to call a tri-beam light, the Triforce light. There's a couple different colors. They've blended using their little method of bulb or lens that blends the light together really nicely. So as you'll see when you look at my tank and the top of it versus the other one, the color is much more blended and spread across. So the bulbs are very nice. The legs do set in on the tank nicely. I was able to get the one leg in between on each side and set them right next to each other. I got some salt on it from earlier doing some work, just cleaning the tank up a little bit. That's why you'll see my anemone's real mad at me here. He's moving around, but outside of that, we'll go back to the controller here. This is why everybody gets this light. Is the Bluetooth loop controller hub. This is what they call the BizNaz. This thing here, you run all of your equipment through it. Everything from your lights to your power heads to your pump that you can get, and you can pretty much just put about any USB accessory in there you want, and then it comes with a nice USB style thermometer that you can put in the tank to monitor the temperature as well. So, but when you buy the light, you get the temperature monitor, you get the 2 lights and the connector and the hub. That's what I bought from Amazon. About $250 for this light setup with the controller and the dual 24-inch. They're actually 22 inches, but they call them dual 24-inch lights, and they are good enough for reef for sure. Corals are doing well, as you've seen. and they have taken off just fine. 2 weeks in, I waited to do the light review a couple weeks, so this isn't just today. These lights have been up and running for about 2 weeks now. The main thing I don't like about the controller though is this. As you notice, it's got these sticky pads. That's what they send. This is what they want you to use to mount it. And they want you to mount it outside of the tank. Specifically there, you'll see it says, do not get wet. So they want you to mount it outside somewhere, not inside your sump. Outside. On the back wall somewhere out of sight, right? So the problem first is twofold. One, the strips they send you cover the design. Well, some clever guy said, well, just cut the strips to fit around the edges and stuff. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but now I got to get it all to match all the way around and then sticking it back on there. The problem there it comes is the strips are too small at that point in time. And when you're sticking to the wood of a fish tank stand, that even if you clean off, no matter what you do, there's still going to be particles of that wood and stuff like that, as you'll see here on there, that will cause it to not stick very well. And it falls off. So I'm going to work on a couple things. Again, I've only had the light a couple weeks, and I'm going to try to come up with a better idea to mount it on the outside that's not damaging and still allows you to see all the labeling. Because that labeling is important. So when you're using the app, you know what is what to control what. And then that is the next piece we'll get into is the app. Like we said, Bluetooth controlled. It is not Wi-Fi. You will download an app, connect via Bluetooth, and this is your first menu screen. Before, you won't have a loop here. You'll have to search it, go add new, search it, pull it up. Then once you have it, you can click on this here, and you will see, you'll get some control here. I don't know if I can do both at the same time, but we'll hit the manual mode, turn that light back on there, you'll see. So with this app, there's some settings in here. We're not going to cover all the settings per se. We're just going to kind of go over. They're self-explanatory when you look at them. I do recommend, if you have specific questions about them, check your manual. Because to be honest, I don't remember the exact terms that they use to describe each one. But for the most part, when you click that, that goes into your timed modes, whatever you've set up for programming. And then manual gives you the ability to manually control it. So that way there, if you're doing like I'm doing and trying to shoot YouTube video of your tank at night, you can turn that light on and it'll be up and running and bright for you. Under the programming mode, you get pretty standard programming stuff. Sunrise time, daylight time, or sunrise time, daylight control. And under here, you'll get some quick set settings for you if you're not quite hip on what you're doing. From a 12K, 10K you can't see because, you know, it's just bright on the screen. And then flow, whatever that's supposed to be. And then you have your freshwater settings. Or you can just old school it and set it the way you want it yourself. Personally, I run it full bore at that 10K setting because I got some hard stonies and some other stuff that I'd like to do with my tank, and really I just want to push the light and see what it's capable of. But to be honest, the loop thing wasn't that overwhelming on just that front. Most Bluetooth lights are very compatible in that standpoint. This is really what people get excited about, is the weather. Storms control 20%. You can go in and set it to just do random weather patterns here from rolling. My tablet's bad. Don't blame the app for this one. Let's just go back here. On this page here, you can, that program page there underneath of that piece, that's to set it for when you're running on the programming. But if you just want to mess with it yourself, it actually has these buttons here. And if your friends are over and you just want to show them, you know, the kind of cool different things it can do, it has these different buttons here you can click. Everything from a feed hold, cleaning mode, nighttime, different style night times, rolling weather, some different storms, your sunrise and sets, and some cloudy weather there. So I'll give you a couple previews real quick of the thunderstorms and stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and do one now. Let's go ahead and do lightning here, so let's start it over. So this is a daytime storm, I believe. The clouds rolling across, kind of there. It does randomness with it too. This is going to be a nighttime storm. It's just dark on the reef, and you're going to get your lightning bolts across it. Everybody worries it freaks the fish out. No, they really don't mind at all. It's actually more natural to them, what they would experience. Now, most of these fish are captive bred, so they've never noticed or known that, but they do adapt very quickly to it. So, rolling clouds. It's just going to roll across the tank. The only thing I don't like about the app, when the weather kicks in during the daytime for effect, they immediately drop the tank to your nighttime setting, a dark blue color. I think that sharp, drastic, quick change could be eased onto more like weather would come in, you know, roll into the tank, as opposed to just that quick pap, and then here it is. But outside of that, it's super cool to watch the effects of this kick in, and as you'll be walking through the house randomly, this will just happen, and you'll be like, ooh, it's, you know, super cool, and you'll just watch, and it's really nice. So that's the main reason people like this light. Again, is the app, Bluetooth controlled, not Wi-Fi though. And then the settings within that is what you can do to it, and how cool it is. So hope this was helpful, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. Outside of that, I'll leave you with one more look at the tank on a night mode here. Complete night on it, and we'll turn the light off just so you can kind of see it running there on the blue. And again, I'm nowhere near full potential of what it's capable at night, so really makes those greens pop. Reds not as much, or oranges per se, but I do have the light turned down pretty low. Right now I think on this setting here it's about 5%. So let's zero in on the current Marine Orbit 24-inch dual light with loop controller. I hope it was helpful for somebody out there. And again, if you have any questions, just hit me up.